The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media.
Well, it should. Look, I'm a happy camper. Client of Dan White and Associates, have been for many, many years. They got a lot of great people working for them. They got, Dan Simon, they got Andrew, they got Allison. In fact, Andrew Wood is on the phone right now with the tip of the day from Dan White and Associates. Hey, Andrew. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had. So, when you guys do financial planning, you take into account a lot of things. You make assumptions about taxes. You make assumptions about, your Social Security and interest rates and such like that. And you guys are more often than not just, spot on with that. Do you even have any way of adding, like, for example, I've been reading in industrial magazines and such that, or industry magazines, that we should expect in business a 29% increase in our energy costs for the 13 states on the PJM grid, including Delaware. I mean, how do you even calculate for that, Andrew?
Yeah, that's a pretty staggering number. I think, again, it all comes down to really structuring what you have and, whether it's assets, but really structuring cash flow, figuring out what the bills and expenses are and what is coming in and making sure that you're covered. Obviously, so many retirees, they do live off of a fixed income, so it does become a lot more challenging. But, at the same time, there are ways that you can structure assets to make sure that, if expenses do go up or you do have the one-time expense or, those types of things that happen, that you're in a position to take care of it and not worry quite as much about it.
Yeah, I mean,
that actually just, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying that kind of leads me into, what we were going to talk about today. There was just recently a study done from the Protected Retirement Income and Planning Study. But basically, it's saying that about half of retirees experience anxiety when spending their savings.
Yeah.
So let me just get this right. Right. So
what's the percentage?
It's just about half.
Well, add me in there. Now it's half. Because
right? Well,
I'm often a stress puppy. But in addition to that, when I'm spending my savings, do. It's like, oh, my God. And it's not the end of the world, but it feels like I'm getting closer to the edge. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I totally relate to that.
And it's something that we run into every day. And it's something that we try to, help people with as much as possible. But, it is fascinating to me that we'll work, 30, 40, sometimes 50 years. And, ideally, the idea is to save, so you're in a position to spend and enjoy what you do have. But again, the study shows me that, roughly half the people have a hard time, enjoying what they have because they just don't have, a plan in place. And, in this study, it actually shows that about a third, it's actually fewer than a third of people who responded to the study actually said they had a specific plan in place. So you wonder where the anxiety comes in. Well, half people have anxiety and less than a third of people actually have a plan, to manage their withdrawals in retirement. So, again, it is about having a plan. But, some of the top concerns, inflation, healthcare, and Social Security's long-term viability, which obviously all of those do need to be factored into a retirement income strategy. So, but, yeah, I mean, it opens our eyes, to really the people that we meet with and we see every day, some of the struggles that are going on. And I see people that have, plenty of money and they don't spend it. And I don't know, sometimes that is anxiety. Sometimes it's just because they don't need it. And then I see the other where, maybe they don't have quite what they need. And again, either have anxiety about spending it. And I will also share with you that about a third of people who responded to this study say that they are spending and using the funds much more quickly than anticipated.
Yeah, well, take a look at, what's going on. We have reassessment, by the way, And some people will pay more in taxes this year in Delaware. Some people will pay less, but it's not going to be a third. But they're going to cut the overall tax rate, and they cut the overall tax rate. But then 2026, game on, baby, and your taxes will go up. Not 5 times. I'm guessing because they don't really know. I think at the county, or they're not telling us, but I think an 8 to 10% increase in taxes in 2026 is a reasonable guess. Then we're still struggling with inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to buy eggs? Well, look, that's avian flu. That's just very contagious.
I got the letter. I got the letter too, so I'm very familiar.
Did you get the letter?
So,
you got the letter?
Yeah.
Right. So it's
but here's
just
kind
so
of the
much,
point,
man. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and the point is really, again, in my opinion, you got to have a plan to at least cover your minimal expenses, your minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And in an ideal situation, you do plan for more. But once you have a plan in place that covers your minimum expenses, then you can position maybe some other assets for those larger expenses, or the higher increases in inflation and things like that. So there are ways that you can build out a plan that kind of covers your basis, if we do see these types of increases going forward. But again, the problem that I see is that, so many people, they just don't have a plan. They don't have, they have the money, they have assets, but they have no idea what it means to them.
Yeah.
And that's really the challenge, is getting them to understand, okay, well, this is your situation, this is what we have to work with, and this is how we plan, to get you to where you need to be.
Good stuff. Andrew Wood with Dan White & Associates, financial planners specializing in retirement income. He knows his stuff. And on Sunday morning, listen to Dan White on The Money here on WDEL. That's at 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Andrew, always good to learn from you. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the call.
You got it. Thanks, Rick.
All right, buddy. Take care.